How's it going, everybody? This is Kevin. I'm doing my fifth episode of Feelin Proggy. This was a segment I was doing a while back, and I started it again a couple days ago. I forgot to mention that it was called Feelin Proggy, but this is basically the kind of the continuation of that again. So I just wanted to come back to you guys and deliver some more commentary on the general political news that's going on. Um, so obviously we got a primary. We got a pretty big primary battle going on tomorrow, March 10th. It's going to be 6 states. For those of you that do not know what the states are, they are Michigan, Mississippi, Washington, Idaho, North Dakota, and Missouri. And pretty much, if you want to rate which states are the more important ones and which states are the not as important, and just the states that are pretty much irrelevant, you can boil it down to Washington. Well, not in this particular order, but Washington and Michigan are the two more important ones. Michigan is definitely the most important. The middle two that are not that important but are still like key if you want to, if you're obviously, you want to get it so that you can obviously secure a chance to win the win the nomination, are Mississippi and Missouri, and then the final two are Idaho and North Dakota. And now those last two, I believe, are the only two that are caucuses. I don't think any of the other ones are caucuses. So Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden are pretty much the last two standing, fighting for those primary battles, fighting for those to win those states. And I'm going to break down what I think is going to happen as far as who's going to win, and what kind of impact it's going to have on the race moving forward. So let's first start with Michigan. Michigan is a state that Bernie Sanders won in surprising fashion last time in 2016 against Hillary Clinton. He was definitely not expected to win it. Nobody saw that coming at all. And it basically boiled down to the fact that he had a really good ground game there. He had really good resources, had really good grassroots, door-to-door knocking and phone calling and stuff. And generally Bernie seems to, definitely has that in droves in every state, as far as, or at least every state that, that he's really working hard to get. Aside from the ones that are just kind of like hard for him to get, and are just kind of strongholds for more like conservative type Democrats like Joe Biden. But when it comes to Michigan, he did win Michigan barely. I think it was by just a few points, just a couple points over Hillary Clinton. And that was a shocker. That was something that kind of like helped him get back into the race in the media's eyes. And he was down, you'll be seeing this, you'll be seeing this to be the case here too. But he was down in the polls by like at least 20 points, I think. And, surprise, surprise, he's again down by 20 points this time. Now I'm looking at a couple of the polls here, and I checked out the RCP, the Real Clear Politics average, and he's down by an average of 22.4 points. That's a lot. So there's a bunch of polls that have been down at 21, 21, 41, 12, 15, and 24. Now the latest one? Yeah, so the latest one that was taken today has him down 21. The lowest one that he was at, the one that he was at the lowest disadvantage at was 12 points, and that was at a poll taken on the final day, was the 8th, and that was, what is that one? Target Insight. I don't know the names. I don't know some of the names of these polling companies. They're fucking random names. A lot of them I don't recognize, but some of them, they're legitimate. Some of them are right wing. Some of them are pro Democrat. Some of them aren't. So you can't really, you got to take most of it with a grain of salt. I always say take all polls out there with a grain of salt as much as possible, because then you're pretty much just banking on like a bunch of data that cannot be really. It's like a lot of it is not. It can't be confirmed. A lot of it is basically just like asking random people things that you don't even know if they're going to really vote. And you don't know if more people are going to vote. Maybe more people are going to vote. Maybe less people are going to vote. So, but with Michigan, he is down. Bernie is down drastically. Biden is ahead in every single poll that they've taken. Again, they, he was down a lot again against Hillary Clinton, and he still ended up winning barely. But the issue is that he needs to win Michigan by a lot. He really needs to win Michigan. Like, I don't even understand why he's down by so much. Now, the good thing is that Michigan, for Bernie, the good thing is that Michigan is an open primary. So independents, Republicans, if they want to vote, they can vote too, as well as Democrats. So it's not really like they don't have a lot of restrictions on voting compared to a lot of other states out there. So it's going to be again, it's going to be a state that he definitely needs to win if he. I mean, obviously, the most magical scenario ever, which I don't think is going to happen, is that he's going to dominate, and that's not going to happen with Michigan. But as long as he can win, he can at least to some extent he set the narrative that hey, Bernie's back, and we'll see what happens. So, and again, he won Michigan in 2016, so a lot of people are holding out hope that he'll do the same thing. He'll have a repeat this time around too. So let's go on to the next state. The next state is Washington. Now this one is going to be a little bit more of a closer one for Bernie. He is not ahead in the polling, as far as I know. The polling is so weird. So the best times that he was doing in the polls for Washington was in February. So when they did polling all the way, let's see, February up to February 18th, he was ahead in the polls in Washington by 6, up 6. And then, so he was up 6, and then he was, before that, they did polling in January, and he was up 5. So when it came to the average over there, it was definitely much better for him early on. Not so much here. He's it's not so much not as good as it's going as it was before, and now it's with Biden up by 6, Biden up by 3, and Biden up by 1. So there are 3 separate polls that have him, losing. But it seems to basically average out. If you do the average, for some reason it doesn't have the average of all the polling. But if you do the average, I'm doing it in my head, and it's pretty good. It's actually, I would say Bernie is probably ahead by the average polling. So I think he has definitely a good shot at getting Washington. Now, I don't think they are an open primary, but it's also a really good state for him. Again, I'm surprised, just like Michigan, honestly, I'm surprised that he's not doing well. He's not doing as well as he should in Washington. Now, the problem on Super Tuesday, 6 days ago, almost a week ago, was that the reason why he lost a lot of the states that he should have won, like Massachusetts and Maine and even Texas, he should have gotten those states, but he didn't because he lost a lot of the white suburban vote. So he lost a lot of the kind of the rich Democratic, voters out there who are not like all that crazy about revolutionary stuff and democratic socialism and all that stuff. So a lot of those people who are strong Democratic loyalists and much older voters, and they don't really have a lot of, they don't have issues with like, as far as like, low pay and like, wanting healthcare and stuff. They got money, right? So they were basically wealthy, is what I'm saying. And that's what a lot of the white suburban voters are. So they're going to vote, naturally going to vote for Joe Biden. Now, last time around, those kind of voters they liked Hillary, but they didn't like the idea of Hillary. They liked the idea of Biden a lot more than they liked the idea of Hillary. So that's why it's a little bit tougher for Bernie this time around. But I think he's going to carry Washington. I think he's going to get it. I don't know. I mean, listen, it's so hard to say because, like I said, with Michigan, which I think Michigan, he's barely going to pull out. Washington, I want to say he's going to barely pull out based on these polls, but maybe just like Michigan last time, maybe they're under sampling voters out there in the polls. You never know, and it all depends on turnout. And the turnout for Bernie hasn't been as good as people expected it to be. So we just have to see what happens with Washington as far as just who turns out. Same with Michigan. So, but I think he's going to carry it. I think he's barely going to carry it. I think he's going to get maybe a little bit more than Michigan. I think he'll win it by like 4 or 5 points. And that's mainly based on the fact that he did so well last time, but then the polling this time that's got him losing in some polls, but then winning some polls. Now, the latest polling has Biden winning, so that's a problem for Bernie. Again, turnout is important, so we'll see what happens there. So the next state is Missouri. So Missouri is going to be a lot tougher for Bernie. That's a state that's um, pretty much a red state. I mean, very conservative state for sure. It's going. It seems to be going a little bit blue. You know, if you want to call it purple, which is obviously a combination of blue and red. So it's getting a little bit Democrat, but I mean, it seems to basically be committed to conservative type politicians, whether they're Democrats or Republicans. And obviously, the Republican conservatives are going to be a lot more conservative and a lot more, to the right than the Democrats are. But the Democrats are not going to be very great either. So they're going to be a lot of like corporatist type Democrats. So I don't think Bernie is going to win Missouri. I think he's going to lose probably by about 5 to 10 points. Let me see what the polling has here. The polling average has Biden up by a ton. It has him up by 26 points, which is ridiculous. One poll is 30 points, one poll is 22 points. So again, it's another one of these. Man, it's amazing how crazy the polling is in favor of Biden. I mean, I don't know if they're polling a lot of Biden supporters or what, but I mean, you can never predict these things. And turnout. It's all about turnout. So, but I don't think he's going to win Missouri. I think he's going to be losing it by 5, 10-ish points. He's going to have a tough time there unless he gets a lot of people coming out. I forgot to mention the number of delegates that each of these states have. The number of delegates that Michigan has is, just a second. The number of Michigan delegates is 125. That's all unpledged. Does not count the super delegates. Let's not get into the super delegates yet because we have no idea where they're going to vote. That's 125 delegates from Michigan. The number of delegates for Washington State is 89. So that's going to be 89 for Washington State. I thought it was more, but I think that might. I think the number that I thought was more was is counting the super delegates, the pledged. What is it? Pledged or unpledged? Let's see. That is pledged. Yes, pledged delegates. So the pledged delegates is 89. So again, 125, 125 for Michigan, 89 for Washington. Missouri is 68. So 68 delegates for Missouri. So I think Missouri is going to be a little bit tougher. I think Bernie's going to lose it by about 5 to 10. I don't think it's going to be as big of a blowout as they're predicting, but I don't know. Again, turnout. So we'll see what happens there. Next one is going to be Mississippi. Now this is where it's going to get tough for Bernie. This is going to get really tough. I mean, Missouri's tough too, but Mississippi's even tougher than Missouri. So Mississippi, I mean, he's pretty much going to get blown out. The only polling they've done recently shows Biden ahead by 55 points. Ugh. So not looking good for Bernie. So don't really rely on that a lot. Mississippi is one of those states that it's going to be a state that the Republicans are going to get in general election anyway. So what difference does it make if you win it this time? The number of delegates there is 36. That's pledged delegates. And I mean, it's not a huge number of delegates, but it wouldn't hurt to get it, right? So yeah, I don't think it's going to, it's not going to turn out for Bernie. I just don't see it happening. He got killed there last time too. And it's considered a southern state. So is Missouri to some extent. Those are both southern states that are going to be tough to get. So don't expect much from Mississippi. And the last two we got here are caucuses. These are states that Bernie carried last time. He won them pretty handily, and it was just I was looking at the number of people that voted. You got to see these numbers. I got to bring these numbers up real quick. Just one second. Let me look this up for you. It was so hilarious to see the number of people that voted in these. In these caucuses, and it was just a ridiculously small amount. The first one is the Idaho. Let's see the Idaho caucus. Let's see here. Here it is. So the 2016 Idaho caucuses, Bernie Sanders won what was it, 78% to 21% over Hillary Clinton, very handily. The number of people that voted was only a total of 23,000, 18,006 and change for Bernie, and then 5,000, just over 5,000 for Hillary Clinton. Just over 23.6 thousand people basically voted for the two candidates, Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. I mean, that's an unbelievably tiny amount. But I'm going to get to the number for the next caucus in a second. But but as far as my prediction goes, Idaho should go to Bernie Sanders pretty easily. Like I said before, he does pretty well when it comes to caucuses. He handles those pretty well, I would say, for the most part, depending on where it is. Like unless it's a I don't know if there's any caucuses. What the caucuses are? Was it the South Carolina? The South Carolina caucus, I think. Well, anyways, so any of the caucuses that are like more southern states, more conservative states, are going to be the ones that are tougher for him. Now, the reason that he attracts more of the more voters in these caucus states that are still conservative states is because there are a lot of voters that are they're very rural white voters. Now, I don't think it's going to be as easy this time, but the fact again that it's caucus, it's a benefit to him. But it's going to be tougher this time around because of the fact that it's that the rural white voters seem to be backing Joe Biden a little bit more. So, and then so the final state. So again, yeah, I think he's going to win Idaho. I think he'll win fairly handily, not as handily as last time, which was 78 to 20 something. I think this time it'll be more like a kind of a 60-40 spread probably. And then the final state here is going to be, let's see, will be North Dakota. I'm sorry, yeah, North Dakota. So I wanted to, like I said last time. So the last time Bernie Sanders won the North Dakota caucus, he won it. What was it? 253 votes to 101 votes. That's the number I was going to tell you about how low the number of people that voted in the North Dakota caucus. That is an unbelievably minuscule, putrid amount. I mean, you just can't get any worse than that. That is just crazy. 253 votes to 101. And I mean, you're talking about a state that has a total population of, let's see here. I want to get this for you because it's really interesting. A total population of 762,000 people live in, and that's up 2019, live in North Dakota, and only that many little people go on and vote. I mean, either it's a complete lack of, desire to want to vote, or it's just like, I don't know, people just don't vote. They just don't care. I don't know. So, yeah, it's crazy. So I think Bernie will carry that one. He won, like I said, he did win North Dakota last time. He won at 64 to 25%. So there was a little bit left over as far as like independent voters. Maybe not, not no party affiliated, whatever it is. Maybe they voted for like some other parties or something. So, but I think he'll win that one. I think he'll get a similar spread, probably 60, whatever, 25, 30, whatever it is. So that should happen too. So, and the number of delegates there is going to be, let me check it for you. Remember, Idaho, the last one that I mentioned, was 20 delegates. The number of delegates for North Dakota, I don't remember. Last time around, it was 18 delegates. So it's probably somewhere around the same. I don't think there's any super delegates. I'm not sure. There probably is, so knowing this fucking crazy process. But yeah, so I think Bernie will get that one, and but it's not that many delegates. So what does it matter? So those first two states are definitely the most important, Michigan and Wisconsin. The final two states are going to be semi-important. If Bernie can cut into Biden's kind of lead or whatever advantage over there, that would be good too. And those are Mississippi and Missouri. And then if he can you can nab obviously North Dakota and Idaho. If you can get those in majority big numbers, then that would definitely help adding to his total. So it's going to be really, really scary to watch these primaries tomorrow. I'm very afraid to see what happens. I'm very afraid to get some sort of terrible result like in Michigan or something where he gets dominated. Bernie really needs to step on the gas and just nail fucking possible every possible primary he can. It's going to be really, really important. And that takes me to my next point. So Bernie Sanders, obviously, he is my favorite. He's my favored candidate. He's the guy that I'm going to be voting for in this primary, no matter what. If I have a chance, I'll probably even vote him. I'll probably even write him in the in the general election. We'll see what happens. I'm not going to be voting for Joe Biden. A lot of people have been saying they're not going to either. That a lot of progressives that I know, a lot of lefties that I know. But Bernie Sanders has been way too decent, way too, and I don't mean that in a bad. I don't mean that to say I mean, he shouldn't be decent, but I'm saying like he's been way too decent in a nice, overly nice way to Joe Biden. He's running in a fucking primary against this guy, and he constantly goes around in different primary battles talking about how Joe Biden is my friend, Joe Biden is a great guy, Joe Biden is this, Joe Biden is that. He constantly is catering to this media narrative, and this is the media, but this is not necessarily all Bernie's fault. This is partly I don't even think it's Bernie's fault. I just think Bernie is a nice dude. It doesn't mean that he's not going after Biden on the issues, which he is, which is what led him to winning to those first 3 states, let alone California, which he lost last time. Last time against Hillary Clinton, got dominated there pretty much. But when he goes and he talks about how Joe Biden is all these great things, I think it's honestly a lot of his campaign telling him this. Because if you remember when he ran in 2016 against Hillary, he was hard on Hillary. Now, not super hard compared to like how Hillary and Obama were, for example, in 2008. But man, he was going at her in 2016, calling her corrupt, calling her, or at least her actions, the decisions that she made, some form of corruption as far as like, taking money from Goldman Sachs, $225,000 a speech, going out there and then, getting those bribes essentially, and then doing favors for them, or at least promising to do favors for him, or, which she would have done if she was president. And then saying that kind of stuff, and then he's calling her the part of the establishment, and then saying that all the people that endorse her, so certain groups that endorse her are part of the establishment, and she's kind of essentially part of like the swamp, which she is, and she was, and yeah, she still basically is. And Bernie was really going after her. And he's not doing that with Joe Biden. Now, to be fair, he has been good friends with Joe Biden since he's been in the Senate, since he's probably pretty much been in the Congress, because he's been in the Congress since 1991. And, Joe Biden has been in the Senate since fucking 1902. So, no, to be fair, he's been there since 1972. But he's been in there for a long time, and, Bernie and him are probably fucking hanging out and, talking and, chatting and, shooting the shit a lot. And whereas he did not do that to Hillary Clinton. Now he referred to Hillary Clinton, oh, my friend, blah, 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 my good friend here from the, whatever. But he's definitely doing that a lot more with Biden. And that's not a good move because it's killing him. Now, what I was going to say before was that I think a lot of this is not his fault. I think a lot of it is his campaign, because he's hired a lot of people for his campaign that are honestly typical Democratic operatives. They are people that cater to the establishment. They are people that cater to the kind of the decorum. I was talking last week, or my last show, about the decorum and the civility. They appeal very much to that decorum civility mentality. And Bernie he's gone into that I don't know what the word is, but he's following the advice of his advisors to do this. Now, 2 people that I want to mention that are more of the democratic type operatives. One of them is Faz Shakir, and the other one is Ari Robinhoft. Now, Ari Robinhoft is somebody that worked for, and these are 2 guys that are actually really good when I see what they tweet out and all the things that they say. But Ari Robinhoft, for example, he was I believe, the vice president or the president of Media Matters for America. For those of you who do not know what that is a group that is owned by David Brock. David Brock is a longtime Democratic operative, BFFs with Hillary Clinton, BFFs with all the different Democratic swamp things out there, and he was the same person that smeared Anita Hill back when he was a conservative. Now he's a fucking, I don't know, liberal, neoliberal now, and he smeared Anita Hill when she was accused, or when she accused Clarence Thomas of rape. Clarence Thomas, obviously being the current Supreme Court justice, and he called her. He would like write articles about her, David Brockwood, and he would call her a little bit nutty, a little bit slutty, some weird shit like that. And now he's whatever. He's fucking a Democratic loyalist, and he's best friends with Hillary, and best friends with different Democratic people out, Democratic politicians and stuff, and groups and stuff. So he works for the Democratic Party. That's what he does. And the guy that Bernie Sanders hired is, again, Ari Robinhoft. He's been a decent person, obviously a surrogate for Bernie Sanders, working for Bernie Sanders, literally, on his campaign, not just a surrogate. But he works for Bernie's campaign. So, he must be a decent guy, right? But, I mean, look where he's coming from. He's coming from a group, he's coming from a contingency that is not very friendly to progressives. Now, they may call themselves progressives, but they're not really progressive. That's just the bottom line. That's the truth. Anybody that knows anything about, Democratic politics and progressive politics knows that this is the reality. And, when it comes to what these people are going to advocate for, it's not going to be like, hey, go after be a hard-nosed progressive, go out there, be a strong populist. They're going to be like, no, you got to be a little bit nicer. You got to be a little bit, friendlier. Now, when it comes to Faz Shakir was a former, I don't know what exactly position he had, but he was working, I think he was press secretary, I believe. Right now, he's the campaign manager. By the way, the first Muslim campaign manager so for the first Muslim to ever run a campaign, and that happens to be Bernie's campaign, which is awesome considering he's a Jewish man. That's amazing, and that's a great kind of a link between two people that obviously are of different religious faiths, linking together. And Bernie definitely has a lot of support within the Muslim community, by the way, which a lot of them live in the state of Michigan. Dearborn, Michigan, being one of the strongholds for a lot of Muslim Americans out there. Just want to throw that in there. But Faz Shakir worked for Harry Reid, Senator Harry Reid. Now, this is a guy that supports. So he just came out in support of Joe Biden, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And he was the former Senate Majority Leader and Minority Leader, so Senate, basically the leader of the Democratic Party. And he's, I guess, decent friends with Bernie to some extent. I remember when Faz Shakir was hired by Bernie Sanders, he was like, yeah, that's awesome. Faz Shakir is awesome. He's a great guy. I'm glad that Bernie has him on his team, blah, blah, blah. But Senator Harry Reid is a big advocate for the typical status quo in Washington. He loves what the typical Democrats do, push, and what they push for, and what they advocate for. And that's just what that's what he thinks. That's what he believes in. Whatever. If he wants to fucking believe that shit, then that's fine. That's his problem. That's not something that progressives want, and they do not want to be a part of that. Now, that doesn't mean, obviously, if Faz Shakir is a former operative for Harry Reid, same with Ari Robinhoft, same whatever, work for David Brock. That doesn't mean that these people are automatically evil, just like those people are, terrible people, just like those people are. If you want to throw them in that category. Harry Reid, obviously has his issues. I think David Brock is much, much worse than Harry Reid, but I mean, the bar is so fucking low. But either way, that doesn't necessarily mean that those people are terrible people just because they worked for them. But am I going to be putting their progressive bona fides into question? Yes, very much. I do not trust them as progressive advocates. I do not trust them for people that I would be, that I would want to have on my team. But whatever, Bernie put them there. They seem to be doing a good job, like I said. Sorry, that was my phone. They seem to be doing a good job for the most part, as I said. But you still got to keep one eye open. You got to keep your one eye open when you're sleeping around these guys, to use an analogy, to use a metaphor. And you just can't always trust them. And I'm just telling you the truth. I'm telling you the God honest truth, and that's what it is. Now, The final thing I wanted to get to, and this is not something that I've necessarily touched on very much when it comes to being on social media and whatnot, but the dementia the potential dementia that Joe Biden has, and what people are calling the cognitive decline, if you want to, whichever term you want to use, that Joe Biden is currently going through, is something of major concern. And the more I am seeing coverage on it, the more I'm seeing people talk about it, whether it's Kyle Kalinske, whether it's various people on Twitter, whether it's Sagar and Jetty from Sagar and Jetty from the Hill, Rising the Hill. These people are all pointing this out. The people that are like mainly in the media, the people that are like not, obviously the mainstream media is not talking about it. They're only kind of touching on it a little bit because they don't want to offend Joe Biden and the distinguished Joe Biden. God forbid anybody says anything bad about him. But nobody wants to bring it up. And, if you look at the different clips out there, again, mentioning Kyle Kalinske, he put out a clip, and I was watching a couple of his videos where he was pointing out all the different cognitive decline, the various kinds of cognitive decline that he is clearly demonstrating. Is just it's jarring. It's like, holy shit, is this guy going to go against, is he going to be able to go up against Donald Trump? I don't see it happening. I mean, I just can't see the way Joe Biden currently is. And to be fair, he was really, really on point a year ago, maybe, yeah. And I mean, not so much a year ago. I would say maybe 2 years ago, he was really on point. Definitely in 2016, definitely in 2012, definitely in 2008, all those other times that he was the VP and everything, he was awesome. Joe Biden was able to debate like a motherfucker. And he was able to go out there and take on Sarah Palin, which isn't too hard of a task. But he went up against Paul Ryan. He went up against all these different kinds of people, and he took them on handily. Now, when you see him in debates, he's not making any sense. Let alone the fact that he's not doing good in his fucking speeches. He can't even give a speech without, talking about some weird thing that, like, what are you talking about, bro? Like, he's talking about he was giving a speech about the Declaration of Independence, reciting the Declaration of Independence, and then he starts saying, "Oh, that thing," I'm like, what? Like, in the middle of talking about how all men and women are created equal, and then the thing. And like every single time I see that, I just crack up. And there's just like countless example after example of him he's just not making any fucking sense. And imagine this guy going up against Trump, man. Trump is gonna fucking steamroll him, bro. He is gonna run a fucking train over this motherfucker, and he's gonna make him look so ridiculous. And this is the people this is the person that the Democratic Party wants to put up against Donald Trump. Wow. I mean, if that's what you are committing, if that's the hill, if that's literally the hill you want to die on, I mean, good luck. We're fucked. He's going to get dominated by Donald Trump in the debates. Trump is already coming out with ads, going after his cognitive decline, going after him, whatever you want to call it, dementia, whatever the fuck it is. I mean, he's not making any sense. He is not looking good. And people still love him. People are still voting for this fucking guy. It's just crazy to me. And it's mainly because of the, name recognition. They don't give a shit about the fact that, he's Uncle Joe Biden, whatever. No, they love the fact that he was Obama's former VP. That's all it is. Policies, nobody gives a shit. It's Joe Biden. He's a funny guy. He's a cool, whatever, fucking weird, gropey grandpa, basically. And that's all they really see in Joe Biden. That's all they care about, and that's all they are pretty much voting for. It doesn't matter what the policies are. And the fact that he's a Democrat, and he's been a Democrat for 1,000,000 years, basically. They don't give a fuck about any of the stuff about his inability to recite simple sentences and give simple speeches. He's going out there. They're barely even bringing him out in public. But when he's going out there and giving speeches, they're giving speeches for like 5 to 10 minutes. That's what they're doing recently. And in general, they're just keeping him out of the public. How the hell are you going to do that in a fucking general election? Let alone doing it now. We're gonna have another debate on the 15th. We're lucky we didn't have a debate between Super Tuesday and this one coming up tomorrow, the 10th. We're lucky. I wish we had a debate, because if we did, it would have affected things a hell of a lot more in the polls. But it's probably going to help them a hell of a lot more than if anything. So that's what sucks. And so we're gonna have a debate on the 15th, luckily. But I mean, I don't know, man. We'll see. So Joe Biden is coasting mainly on name recognition. Biden, Bernie Sanders has to, fucking work his ass off, work his fucking dick off, traveling all over the country, trying to, he's giving speeches and doing town halls and stuff. He went on Fox News just today too. Did a great job there, from what I heard. I didn't watch it, but he apparently did a really good job. So Bernie is working his dick off to make sure that people recognize him, people listen to what he has to say, people know who he is. Joe Biden doesn't want to do that. He doesn't give a fuck. He just wants to get elected. He just wants to be president. That's it. And remember, this is a guy that Obama, his own former president, his own former boss, was telling him, no, you don't have to do this, Joe. You don't have to do this, referring to him running for president. And he did it anyway. And look where you are. Now we got a guy that's going to probably get fucking steamrolled by Donald Trump. You can put that on a fucking, you can bet on that fucking shit. You can put that on a fucking, on a mantle. Put that on, etch that into fucking stone, and it's going to be fucking happening. I guarantee it. And so is everybody else. So we know it because we're not stupid. We can see the fucking evidence. We can see, let alone the fact that Donald Trump can nail every single shitty vote that Joe Biden has done, whether it comes to trade deals as far as NAFTA and TPP, whether it comes to different endless wars, whether it comes to Social Security cuts, entitlement cuts. Even though Donald Trump is a liar that's going to push for all those things anyway and has, he can still attack Joe Biden over it. It doesn't matter. It's all about the framing and the marketing. That's all that fucking matters. So Joe Biden is going to crumble. Just watch. So that's all I got to tell you guys. Thank you so much for listening. This has been Feelin' Proggy, and I'm going to see you again next time. Take care.